buzz of lunch in the background at the first ever Landlord Law Conference. I'm delighted to be joined by one of the speakers, David Smith. Welcome, David.
Hello.
Now, you spoke on HMOs. Would you give us your HMO credentials?
I first got involved in the Housing Act 2004 when it first appeared. I wrote one of the first books on the topic, and I've advised landlords and agents ever since, basically.
Fantastic. And what were you kind of speaking about today specifically?
I was trying to give a quick rundown and an introduction to HMO legislation and how it works in practice for people, and some top tips of how they can survive an HMO world.
Indeed, because there are many challenges coming to the HMO world, aren't there? Could you give us what you think are the main ones?
I think the growth of additional licensing, so licensing of all types of HMO, the growth of selective licensing, which is just landlord licensing by the back door, really.
Yep.
And the massively increased appetite now of local authorities to prosecute, and almost certainly to justify budgets and to help enhance their budgets and keep their staff employed and busy.
Indeed. What is a worrying trend for me as well is that I see many novice landlords being recommended to get into HMOs, and perhaps it's not the right thing for somebody to start with when they're starting out investing in property.
No, I would very definitely say not. The days where you could take an ordinary family house, put a different bed into every room and stuff it full of students, I'm afraid are long gone. There's a lot of money to be made in HMO, but it takes a lot of work. It's to run a serious HMO portfolio is a full-time task, and the profits are there, but you really need to be very, very switched on, and it's a much more military operation in terms of how you run it.
Totally agree. And I think it is confusing as well for landlords, because it seems the different licensing rules seem to vary from council to council, and one of the things that I always say to anybody considering getting into an HMO is to go and speak to the local housing officer, the HMO officer, befriend them. They're not an enemy.
No, they sometimes are occasionally, but generally speaking, if they're approached well up front, they are a good source of information. Most local authorities have some kind of landlord accreditation scheme or membership scheme you can join. You can go and meet these people. You can go and drink poor quality wine with them, it's a useful thing to do. And if they have a good relationship with you, their attitude towards you later on, if there is a problem, is just markedly different, because they see you as a person as opposed to another landlord.
Indeed. Just final thought, really. There's a lot of talk on the forums about this new strategy, rent to rent, where you sublet a property from a landlord, turn it into an HMO, and cream off the difference, either multi-let HMO. What is your view on that? Because to me, it seems that people are not setting these arrangements up in a legal format.
I think many people are getting involved just don't realise what they're doing. I mean, if you rent your property out in that way, most people think it's a residential tenancy. It's not. It's a commercial tenancy. Therefore, your tenant actually has rights to stay there and have his tenancy automatically renewed under the Landlord and Tenant Act 1954. If it's a commercial tenancy, it may well be treated as having a commercial property by the local authority. They may change the planning status. They may start looking at the council tax you're paying on it. If the person you rent it to doesn't know that much, then they probably don't know enough about the HMO regulations. If they flout them, then you could still be prosecuted if it's your own property, because you're ultimately receiving the rent, and local authorities will go after you. And the whole thing is very, very dangerous indeed. I see lots of people who are doing it. I've been approached by people in the middle to set up their contracts properly, but it's an attractive position for landlords who get told no void periods, and they see easy money every week. But at the end of the day, if you want to run your house properly, you need to run your own house, and you shouldn't trust someone else in that way to take total control of your property.
That's brilliant. Thank you, David. Where can we find out more about you? Have you got a website? Or?
Yep, I work for Anthony Gold Solicitors, and I'm all over their website, I find, in all kinds of exciting ways, and you can get my profile there, and you can contact me through that as well.
Brilliant. Well, we'll pop the address up on the screen now. We've been talking to David Smith, HMO expert here at the Landlord Law Conference, and thank you very much for sharing those insights. It's been great speaking to you.
Thank you.